What is trauma response? How can I become aware of my autopilot when I am confronted with something challenging, painful, hurtful, or threatening? My name is Vasi Sarandupol and I'm a psychologist, and I'm here in order to share with you my knowledge on psychology and to bring more awareness on mental health issues. Don't forget to subscribe and click on the bell so that you will get notified every time I upload a new video. So, what is trauma response? In my last video, I was talking about trauma and what is trauma. You will find the link on the description and you will find more information about what is trauma. In a nutshell, trauma is not only a traumatic event, but also the emotional experience around it. And usually the emotional experience is an overwhelming experience. It's all the questions that were left lingering and all the responsibility and shame that we felt because of this experience. So, trauma can be something very obvious, such as a car accident, or physical abuse, or sexual abuse, or a plane crash, or violence, but it can be also something hidden, such as betrayal, embarrassment, bullying, or grief, a divorce, or the absence of emotional support. So, this is trauma. Trauma response is the way we cope with that kind of traumatic experiences. We have many ways to cope with a traumatic experience, and each one of us selects the way that fits best with their needs. What do I mean with that? The four main ways that we cope with a traumatic experience are fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I'm going to explain all of these. But before I start, I want to tell you that all these ways of responding to a traumatic experience and coping with that experience are not necessarily unhealthy or maladaptive. To give you an example, if you have been bullied during your childhood, probably back then you figured out that by being a bully yourself was the only way that you could defend yourself, because there was nobody around you to protect you, to support you. And you figure out that only if you become a bully, then you can protect yourself. Back then, it was the best solution that you found out. It was the perfect idea. And thank God that you figure out that you have to do something like that in order to survive. No. It becomes a maladaptive coping mechanism if you continue doing that, even though you don't need it. Do you get what I mean? That's why we say many times that this is a trauma response, because we keep doing it even though it's not necessary. So if now, at the present moment, you being an adult, you keep bullying people because you have this fear that people are not to be trusted, or they're going to attack you, or they're going to betray you, or they're going to shame you, and you bully them, this is a trauma response. You are afraid that people are not to be trusted. You are afraid that people are going to hurt you, but this is not necessarily the reality. And especially if you're doing it with people that they are nice to you, that's definitely going to hurt your relationships. And that's why we're talking today about trauma response. So, the first trauma response is the response of fight. This is where we figure out that in order to survive, we need to fight back. And the healthy version of the fight response is when you are assertive, when you set healthy boundaries with others, when you protect yourself, when you are a good leader, when you find the courage to do things. However, the maladaptive version of this coping mechanism is when you overcompensate, when you overdo something. For example, when you are over-aggressive, not assertive, but over-aggressive, when you are attacking people, when you're bullying people, when you tend to workaholism, when you become a perfectionist, when you become a narcissist, when you feel entitled that everybody should help you, support you, or when you claim energy and time from others without caring about how they feel. Do you see what I mean? This is trauma response. This is you having learned that I need to fight back in order to get what I want. I need to try a lot. I need to overcompensate in order to provide myself with the safety and the security that I wanted to feel initially. The second trauma response is flight. Flight means escape, avoid. This coping mechanism probably started when you wanted to avoid some uncomfortable conversations or some uncomfortable feelings or something that was dangerous around you. The healthy version of that is when we take a break from some people that they are already upset, when we disengage from difficult conversations, when we remove ourselves from relationships that they are not healthy. However, the unhealthy coping mechanism of flight is when we escape our responsibilities, when we go into alcohol, when we turn into drugs, when we're trying to avoid stepping out of our comfort zone because we're feeling scared. So, this flight mode is really our mode when we are scared and we don't even trust ourselves, not only others, but not even ourselves. The third coping mechanism is freeze. Freeze is when we actually stop, stand still, we don't do anything. We don't move backwards, we don't go forward. Nothing happens there. And this is where we actually numb our feelings and our needs. The healthy version of that is mindfulness because we don't do anything, we stay still and we remain in the present moment. And we need that because sometimes we're busy going back and forth or thinking about the future or thinking about the past. But mindfulness is a healthy way to stay in the present moment for a specific amount of time. However, the unhealthy version of that is when we dissociate, when we detach ourselves from whatever is happening around us. We are too stressed and we completely switch off. We don't want any stimuli. We don't allow any experience to get into our body. We are with other people, but we don't listen to them. We discuss with other people, but we don't engage emotionally. We isolate. We numb ourselves in front of the TV. We just want time to pass. We don't want to think. We don't want to feel. But of course, this is not possible to happen. But what happens is we suppress the feelings. We suppress whatever is happening inside us because we don't want to interact with that at this moment. We're so overwhelmed that we're actually switching off everything. The last coping mechanism, the last trauma response is called Fawn. It's a response that has to do with people pleasing. The healthy version of this response is when we have compassion for other people, when we care about them, when we're taking time in order to support them, in order to listen to them, to validate them, and to understand them. However, the unhealthy version of this trauma response is when we're putting aside all our needs, when we're focusing only on other people's needs. When we create codependent relationships where we want people to need us because we need them back, when we think that we are not enough in order for other people to stay with us unless we are giving, unless we're useful to them 24/7. Also, when we're staying in relationships that they're abusive, that they're relationships that are very toxic, but we stay there because we feel that we need to fix them. We need to fix these people. We need to change them. Fawning is also when we have little or no boundaries and people can do whatever they want and can ask us whatever they want. And sooner or later, we figure out that we have lost ourselves. Fawning, sooner or later, leaves us completely empty because we're giving all our energy, all our time, all our resources to other people. Or it leaves us feeling resentful for other people. So, one way or another, it's not a healthy relationship, the one that we are always giving and we're pleasing others. I hope I gave you a good idea about what are the 4 possible trauma responses. Try to connect these trauma responses with actual traumas. Try to connect these trauma responses with your own experience. What is it that you're doing? And this comes out of a place of fear and not of a place of a healthy and balanced response to other people. And it doesn't mean that all trauma responses that we have right now in our lives need to change. Some of them can be completely harmless. Maybe if you're giving too much time to other people or you're people pleasing, maybe that's part of your personality that makes you who you are and you're kind. But you're the one that knows what is the boundary. When does it start harming you and your relationship rather than helping you? That is what makes the difference between the helpful trauma response rather than the unhealthy maladaptive coping mechanism. I hope that that brought some more awareness and understanding in the concept of trauma response. Share with me your questions or your comments. Until next time, take good care of yourself. Have a nice day.